Hey guys, and welcome back to the Gran Turismo 6 No Money Challenge. Man, I haven't said that in a bit. Anyways, if you haven't watched the previous episodes, I recommend you watch those before watching this one. Anyways, I welcome you back to the world of Gran Turismo 6. So now it's time to decide which event I should do next. So first off, there's Polyphony Digital Cup, which given the restrictions, I don't have any cars that are eligible for the event. And the ones that I do have are severely underpowered. Next on the events list is GT Kart Championship 125, which, if I wanted to, I could get the Red Bull Go-Kart from the Red Bull X Challenge and beat this event, but I don't really feel like it. Next up is Dirt Trials, and I could actually do this one if any of my cars had f***ing dirt tires. Plus, it features full-on rally cars, so this event is a no for me. But maybe British lightweights will be doable. And I think it is. Let me get in my light car company rocket real quick and... oh, I forgot about performance point restrictions. But thankfully GT6 has this thing which is called a power limiter, which I can use to detune the car all the way down to the 550 performance points limit for the event. Alright, now is the car eligible? Why, yes it is. Anyways, enough of stalling, let's start. The first race is at Madrid, so let's see how I do. Starting off strong with the rocket. Not even the first corner came around and I'm already out-accelerating the Elise and the Elan. And then the braking zone came around and I easily beat the Europa Special, along with the 96 Elise not too far ahead of it. Then after that, I easily managed to overtake the Elise Type 72 just by driving. And then I overtook the Grey Elise on the straight, and all I had to do was drive, and I eventually overtook the Red Elise 111S. And then the next braking zone came around and I easily overtook the Esprit Turbo HC. I didn't brake on this corner, allowing me to catch up to the Elise Sport 190 and to overtake it on this long corner. I guess HSG Automotive wasn't lying when he said this car was really f***ing overpowered. So much so that I managed to catch up to first place in the blink of an eye, which was another light car company rocket. But given how OP this car is, and how slow the AI overall is in this game, I managed to catch up to the light car company rocket and overtake it very easily. And as you would have probably expected at this point, nothing happened after I overtook the leading car. Either way, I won the race and earned 3 stars. We get it, Storm, now shut the fuck. The second race is at Rome Circuit, and I'm already overtaking the Mini Marcos and the Lotus Elan before I could even finish that sentence. This goes to show how OP this thing is, and the fact that it managed to overtake the VX220 and the 96 Elise just by driving. Same goes for the Elise Type 72 right in front of it, and for the 2000 model year Elise even further ahead. The braking zone came around and I managed to catch up to the Elise 111S and overtake it very easily. Another speed section came around and I managed to out-accelerate the classic Esprit, if that's even an actual word. Then I noticed that the last 2 cars I need to overtake are very far ahead. But given that this car is light as a feather, I managed to catch up to them like 15 seconds later. And as you just saw, I almost had an insert explosion here moment. But thankfully that didn't actually end up happening, which allowed me to overtake the Elise 111R. And as for the Elise Sport 190, I managed to catch up to it and overtake it very easily using Slipstream. I just can't get over the fact that this car is OP. So much so, in fact, that even the rubber banding AI wasn't enough to stop me from winning the race. The third and the final race is at Matterhorn Dristelen. The racetrack starts us off with a downhill section, meaning that I was able to overtake 1/3 of my competition before I even got to the first corner. And now here comes the steepest uphill section in Gran Turismo 6, where thanks to slipstream and some careful driving, I was able to overtake another third of my competition. And then I easily managed to overtake the Vauxhall VX220, once again thanks to slipstream. Hey look, I haven't even made it to the biggest downhill in Gran Turismo history yet, and I'm already on the podium, which I'm gonna use to my advantage to try to catch up to the Caterham 7 Fireblade right in front of me, which unless I insert explosion, it should work. And it worked, allowing me to overtake the 7 Fireblade. And unfortunately for me, one of the AI drivers decided to also use the light car company rocket, meaning that I wasn't allowed to mess around if I wanted to win. But thankfully the steep I've been in the hills and my excellent driving allowed me to catch up to it. And then I overtook it on the biggest downhill in Gran Turismo history. Overall, the races were very easy, and the light car company rocket was very fun to drive. But anyways, I just cruised to the finish line and won the race, and earned a whopping 42,000 credits. But like I said long ago, that doesn't matter, as money isn't the primary focus of this challenge. And yeah, that's British lightweights. Now that we got that out of the way, I've been teasing it for 3 episodes now, it's time to finally do the GT All-Stars Championship. And unfortunately for me, the fastest car I have in my garage is this insult of an automobile. I'm gonna try this car for myself in the first race. I mean, these complaints have to be an exaggeration, right? Hell to the fucking no! Now I know why Tehran hated this car so much. I did not want to have to do this, I swear, but it looks like I have no other choice but to use the AMG Vision GT. And before you say anything, no, I am not cheating. The game low-key gives you this car as a gift, meaning that I can just accept it into my garage without spending any money whatsoever. And before you ask, why didn't you buy it sooner? I was saving it for a situation like this. So now let's enter the championship and hope there's no Ferrari FXX. Otherwise, I'm pretty much fucked. Anyways, the first race is at High Speed Ring. This is gonna suck. But before we see how I do, I just wanna make sure the Ferrari FXX is not there. Welp, it looks like there's no Ferrari FXX. That means we're good. Although the Veyron is gonna be a problem. Anyways, let's see how I do. So the first corner came around and I managed to overtake the absolute beast of a car that is the Lexus LFA. At first, I wasn't really doing well, given that I was not used to the car's handling. And unfortunately for me, the Lexus LFA was the only car I overtook that lap. Or so I thought, as I managed to catch up to the Lamborghini Gallardo and overtake it on the final corner. And then when the second lap started, I was able to catch up to the Ferrari until I did a bruh moment and smacked into the wall, causing me to lose a lot of time to the Ferrari and to get overtaken by the Gallardo, which I overtook back on the next corner. After that, I tried to gain back some time by overtaking the 430 Scuderia, but failed. I tried again on the next corner using some cornering strategies, and that actually worked, allowing me to overtake the 430 Scuderia. But let's not get excited too early, as I still have 7 cars left to overtake. After trying to catch up to the Diablo and not succeeding, we're already on to the third lap. But my failed attempt at overtaking actually ended up paying off, as I was able to slipstream, which allowed me to overtake the Diablo and the C6 Corvette. And then on the braking zone, I was able to catch up to this Viper, which I may or may not end up using in totally normal Gran Turismo 5 playthrough. The next corner came around and I easily beat the Murcielago SV. And now all I have to do to win is overtake what I like to call the pain in the ass trio. A whole nother lap later and I was finally able to catch up to them. And now all I could do at that moment is pray to God that I was able to slipstream with the Aventador right in front of me, which luckily ended up being the case, allowing me to overtake the Aventador and the Veyron on this corner. And now I have to catch up to Enzo Ferrari pronto if I want to win. And I have no idea how am I so lucky, but I was able to slipstream, which allowed me to catch up to the Enzo Ferrari on the next lap. And then I overtook it on this corner. And even though the Ferrari was competitive, I was still able to take the win for the first race. Hopefully the second race is not as difficult as this one. And thankfully things are working in my favor, as the second race is held at Apricot Hill, which in this game is a combination of a speed track and a technical track. And from my experience, the AI doesn't really do well on this track because of that. Anyways, I decided to use these technical corners to my advantage to try to catch up to the Gallardo, which worked, and I was able to catch up, but not quite enough to overtake it though. But it's no big deal, as I managed to catch up to it on the long corner and overtake it on the straight. And then I managed to catch up to the 430 Scuderia just by braking. But unfortunately, it wasn't quite enough to overtake it. Not too long after, I tried to overtake the 430 Scuderia and actually succeeded, unlike my most overtaking attempts. And then I used this weird chicane thing corner to my advantage to try to overtake the Lamborghini Diablo, which worked by the way. I used the start-finish straight to try to catch up to the C6 Corvette, but ended up doing a skill issue moment instead. But remember, I still have something which the AI doesn't. Actual driving skill, which allowed me to catch up to the C6 Corvette. And then I overtook it on the long corner. And then the braking zone came around, which allowed me to overtake the Murcielago SV. And also managed to catch up to the Viper ACR, which I managed to later overtake it on this not so long corner. And as for the pain in the ass trio, I managed to overtake the Enzo Ferrari on this weird chicane corner. Then it took me a while to catch up to the Aventador, but once I did, it was very easy to overtake it. And same goes for the Veyron on the final section of the track. And just like that, I managed to build an 8-second lead over the Veyron and win the second race. So far I'm doing pretty good in terms of the point system thing. And now it's time for the third race, which is held at Mount Panorama, or also known as Bathurst. At first, I wasn't really doing well in this race, but the turns got tabled on this corner and I managed to overtake the Lexus LFA. And then I overtook the Gallardo due to me being better than it at driving. It took me a bit to catch up to the 430 Scuderia, but once I did catch up, it was very easy to overtake it. And the same would be true for the Diablo on this El Capitan wannabe section. On this corner, I didn't have the patience in me to catch up to these guys normally, so I just overtook them by using some off-road activities. Which worked, as you would probably expect it to. And then it took me a whole nother lap to catch up to the pain in the ass trio, which by the way, was not fun. Just like the previous lap, I managed to overtake everyone by off-roading, but the Veyron overtook me back. And as for the Ferrari Enzo, I was easily able to prevent it from overtaking me. Let's just say catching up to the Bugatti Veyron on these long straights was an absolute nightmare. And the fact that the Ferrari Enzo was right on my tail the whole time wasn't helping either. But the misery finally ended as I was able to overtake the Bugatti Veyron on this corner using some off-road activities. This race was so long and nerve-wracking that I don't even feel like talking about it for much longer. The fourth race is at Gran's Hatch, which, given how many times I've driven on this track throughout this entire challenge run, this should be pretty easy for me. The braking zone came around and I easily overtook the Lexus LFA. After that, I tried to catch up to the Gallardo on this corner but failed. But on the next corner, however, I was able to overtake it thanks to Slipstream. I also managed to catch up to the 430 Scuderia and overtake it once again thanks to Slipstream. And then it took me a while to catch up to the other AI cars. But then, at the beginning of the second lap, I was finally able to catch up to the Lamborghini Diablo and overtake it. On the next corner, I had a perfect opportunity to do a double overtake on the C6 Corvette and the Murcielago, which was an opportunity I definitely took. The next section of the track came around and this wannabe race car was driving quite slow, so I used that opportunity to overtake it. Moving on to the third lap, I was able to catch up to the pain in the ass trio. And then, as usual, it took me a bit of effort to catch up to the Aventador, but once I did catch up to it, it was very easy to overtake it. After some struggling, I was finally able to overtake the Veyron and take the first place for myself. And just like that, I was able to build a 6-second lead over the Bugatti and win the race as well. Now, I know that I didn't have to, but I still did the 5th and final race, which was all the same. And in fact, I'll spare you guys the details because I really want to move on to the next thing on my bucket list without making this video longer than it already is. Anyways, I got 3 stars and earned an additional 60,000 credits for winning the championship, making this already tempting amount of cash even more tempting. And yeah, that's Gran Turismo All-Stars Championship. Then after all of that, I went to do the International A license and this is how it went. Here we go again with another f***ing cone slalom. Bruh. Meanwhile, the rest of the license tests were easier and just required good driving. These licenses are absolutely terrible and I'm glad this is the last time I'll have to deal with them. Anyways, I can now take part in the International A-Class events. And I will also get 2 prize cards as a reward. One for completing the license, and one for getting all gold on the license tests. And just like that, we have entered International A territory. I have no idea how things will go on from here, but we'll see. And if you're wondering, here's all the cars I have so far. And this may or may not be the last garage update, so be it. So now it's time for GT World Championship with the AMG Vision GT. And if that's not enough to beat it, then the Red Bull X Challenge is my last resort.